Greetings and Akoma, my fellow educators, and welcome to this week's episode of Enterprising Educators. I'm really happy to have you here today. Today's topic deals with the foundations of classroom management. This is a very important topic, especially if you are a first-time educator. I'm looking forward to sharing it with you and all its nuances. But before we get to that point, folks, please, if you like what you see and like to see more, or if you would like to be part of the Enterprising Educators crew, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you have a topic relating to education or social studies you'd like me to discuss with you all in the internet, please let me know in the comments. I'm absolutely looking forward to hearing your thoughts. So with that said, folks, let's take a quick look at classroom management. And I want to start off by saying it's a tough topic to teach. There are very few schools out there, which is to say college programs, that teach classroom management. And I don't know of any college that teaches the model I'm about to share with you. This was something I struggled with a lot. It almost caused me to wash out of my student teaching experience, but my student teaching experience was its own little battle. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like a video about that. So, with that in mind, credit where credit is due, this model that I'm about to share with you is something that was shown to me in one of the first PDs, professional developments, I did as a contracted teacher. And when I saw this, folks, everything fell into place. And I went from not having very good marks in terms of running a classroom, and I turned around, and almost every evaluation cycle, I am at least proficient and more often than not distinguished in the criteria when classroom management comes up. So with that in mind, I'm really excited to share this with you. And to do this topic justice, we got to go see the coach. So transport us to the coach. Energize. All right, team, listen up. This is the game plan. If you want to manage your classroom well, you got to teach like a champ. No, really, that's what the model is called, the champ model. And here it is. Conversation, help, activity, movement, and participation. That's how it breaks down in the champ model, folks. Everything you do instructionally can be calibrated with the champ model. I'm going to show you how that works in a couple seconds. But before we get to that point, if you are a K-3 educator, champ might be too complicated, but no worries, no piliquia, we got you covered. You also have the MAP model. Movement, activity, and conversation. That's how this breaks down, folks. So, everything that you do can be calibrated to a champ. And then once it's calibrated to a champ, all you got to do is put it up on the board, either with a PowerPoint or by writing it up on the chalkboard, and you can save yourself so much time in explaining an activity and repeating yourself over and over and over again. A student raises their hand, goes, well, what are we doing? Instead of erupting, instead of getting explosive and all that kind of piliquia, hey, we're not in the piliquia business, folks. We are in the aole piliquia business. So, no piliquia. How do you do it? This is how it breaks down. Conversation, help, activity, movement, participation. So, I'm going to illustrate something called a scavenger hunt. This is something that I do. It's a form of student-run instruction where we break up materials into a handful of documents, place those documents at some point, at various points in the classroom. The students are given a scavenger hunt sheet, and they need to go out to the stations and fill out everything on their scavenger hunt sheet. So how do you calibrate an activity like that to the champ? Well, let's see. Conversation. Well, this is something that we want to have students talk with each other about. They can collaborate on this activity. So we can set conversation to about, how about 3 out of 10 for noise? Now, 1 is a whisper, 10 is a rock concert, 3 is about middling sort. That's the deal there. So for this activity, we're going to do 3 out of 10 for noise. The H is for help. Now, if a student needs help, what should they do? Fair enough question. Now, on this activity, they can do a couple different things. So what I tend to do, what I tend to build into activities like this is ask a certain amount of people before asking me. Because if a student happened to miss it on an activity where they're supposed to be collaborating, you don't need to give them instructions to say, talk to me. They can ask their students, their fellow students. So ask 3 students before asking me. That's the deal there. So if a student comes up and asks you what they're doing and you know they didn't ask 3 people before asking you, send it back to them. Ask them, did they follow the champ? What did they do for help? Did they ask the 3 people or not? Then they go from there. The activity. Now, show of hands, or let me know in the comments below if you've ever been in this situation. You hand out your copies to your class, to your students. And the students are supposed to be doing the activity, and you have 1 or 2 students that are just sitting there and staring at a mess of papers, and they don't know what they're doing. They're just comatose like that. That's where the A in the champ model comes in. You usually label that to be the same label as the handout you gave out. And this is how it works. You make sure before you dismiss the students, because you model this champ every time you go and send the kids out on the activity. Works great as a transition, by the way. And you make sure everybody has that activity or handout. So in this case, it would be Colonial America Scavenger Hunt. Now the M is for movement. Depending on the activity, you might want to have the students move around. You might want to have the students stay put. Up to you. So movement, in this case, it's a scavenger hunt, which by definition is supposed to be very bodily kinesthetic. So move around to the classrooms. Notice that I've mentioned the number of stations in the classroom. That is where you put in those kinds of materials. That is the sort of detail work that makes the champ model so effective. Now, in this case, it's go to 3 stations, forgive me, 4 stations, and then return to your seat. That's how this breaks down. Then finally, participation. If you've ever had a situation in which a student says, I don't know what we're doing, and what should we do afterwards? That's what the P is for in the champ. So in this case, go to 4 stations in the classroom and copy down the information on your scavenger hunt sheet. Return to your seat when finished. Be prepared to share with the class. That's the way this works, folks. Now, that's what you would do for an activity that's very get on up, bodily kinesthetic, and collaborative. Let's show how we can make a champ work for a test. So, let's do a test. Conversation. Well, it's a test. So, no conversation. 0 out of 10 for noise. No conversation at all. Now, what do we do for help? What's the H on this test going to be? Well, if a student has a question, that's kind of different, right? They should talk to you directly. You should not have the champ be built in such a way where they talk to 3 people. It's a test, for goodness sakes. So they talk to you directly. Activity, title of the test. Movement, you ordinarily wouldn't have kids get up and move around during a test. So you gear the movement part of the champ model to say, remain in seat. Unless, sharpening pencils, or if you do provide food like getting food. Then finally, participation. This part in the purpose of a test is extremely important because it outlines everything that the test entails. If you have a student who, for example, does all the multiple choice portion but does not do the essay portion and tries to hand in the test, having overlooked the essay portion, that's why you spell it out in the P portion of the champ model. So in this case, this is an AP US history test. So answer 18 multiple choice questions, otherwise known as MCQs, and 1 document-based question using either the short or long game models. That's the deal there. So, what do you think, team? be thinking about your comments because we're going to go back to the big group, the superposition, and then we will go from there. So there we have it, folks. I hope you enjoyed that little excursion to Wrigley Field. With that in mind, what are your thoughts about the CHAMP model? And are there any other aspects of classroom management you'd like discussed on this channel? With that said, folks, please let me know in the comments below if you have questions about classroom management. And if you have any other questions or topics that you'd like to discuss in future videos. With that in mind, feel free to like, share, and subscribe if you'd like to be a part of the Enterprising Educators crew, and we will go from there. So, teleport. Hello again. Mahalo nui loa for watching that video. Don't forget to tune in every Teacher Tuesday for a new Enterprising Educators video. And if you have an idea for a new video, please let me know in the comments below. So, with that said, live long and prosper, e mo lama pono, and see you next time.